Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Last lecture we discussed the limbic system, and in this lecture we will continue with some very important aspects of limbic system. That is, we will first discuss some applied aspects of the limbic system, and then we will talk about the Pepys circuit, which is very important, and also the amygdaloid complex. Now there are some important applied aspects of the limbic system leading to some syndromes. Number one is the Kluver-Bucy syndrome. Result when the limbic system is affected, especially ablation of the amygdaloid complex. Ablation of the amygdaloid complex in hippocampus. Damage to this result in hyperphagia, and excessive eating, hypersexuality, loss of fear, and personality disorders. The second important effect of lesion of limbic system is Korsakoff syndrome. This results from ablation of mammillary body and thalamus. Mammillary body, you know, it is part of hypothalamus. So thalamus, mammillary body, and lesion of these two, thalamus and mammillary body, which is part of hypothalamus, will result in this syndrome. In this condition, there is loss of long-term memory. Loss of long-term memory, and patient will learn slowly and forget slowly. Patient will learn slowly and forget slowly. This was about the Korsakoff syndrome. Then schizophrenia number 3. Schizophrenia may result from damage to the parahippocampal gyrus. Hippocampus. Parahippocampal gyrus, hippocampus and amygdala. The patient in this case cannot recognize relatives and close friends. Patient is confused and disoriented. Confused and disoriented. So these were some of the important applied aspects of damage to the different parts of limbic system. Now, Pepys circuit. What are its components? Components are mostly the hippocampal formation, different parts of the hippocampal formation, and the various parts of the hippocampal formation we discussed twice in the last lectures, but briefly I will name these components. These are the components hippocampal formation. That is pes hippocampus. Or simply hippocampus, which is deeply seated. Then from it, bundle of fibers arise, known as the alveus, and alveus continue as fimbri. Fimbri continue as crus or crura of the fornix, and crura continue as body of the fornix. And body of the fornix continue as column of the fornix. and column of the pharynx terminate in the mammillary body. And mammillary body is connected to thalamus. Through mammillothalamic tract, especially anterior nucleus and also medial nucleus of the thalamus. So these are a summary of the components of hippocampal formation which are interconnected with each other through Pepys circuit apart from amygdaloid complex. Now, what are the connections? Not connections. What are the different links? What are the different links and the circuit fibers? In case of Pepys circuit, the links, apart from different links, there are fibers which connect different portions. The links, for example, the link between the hippocampus to mammillary body. Via pharynx. This one of the link. Second, mammillary body. Connected to thalamus via mammillothalamic tract. Mammillothalamic tract. Then next is link between the amygdala link between the amygdala and hypothalamus. So apart from these links, there are nerve fibers which also interconnect these. Now, what are those fibers which complete this circuit, the Pepys circuit? So apart from links, apart from above cited links, a bundle of fibers arise. From a bundle of nerve fibers arise from amygdaloid body. These fibers are known as stria terminalis. Apart from the links just we discussed, then a bundle of nerve fibers, they arise from the amygdaloid body. These bundle of fibers are known as the stria terminalis. Now these fibers we will further trace with the help of a diagram. Now there are different structures related to the parts of limbic system. So we will in this diagram these structures are shown. For example, this one is the cingulate gyrus, which can be seen on the medial surface of each cerebral hemisphere. Cingulate gyrus. Then there is hippocampus. Now hippocampus is not visible externally, it is deeply seated inside each cerebral hemisphere. But for descriptive purposes, I have drawn the hippocampus or pes hippocampus, which is deeply seated and not visible externally. But in this diagram it is shown for descriptive purposes. Then the cut surface of corpus callosum and septum pellucidum, to the lower border of which fornix is attached, and it is body of the fornix. Other parts of the fornix, they are deeply seated and not visible here. And the septum pellucidum is attached, the lower part of the septum pellucidum is attached to the fornix. Then here there is interventricular foramen, which connect the lateral ventricle with the third ventricle. Interventricular foramen of Monro, right and left. So here one foramen is indicated by this cut until. Then next to it is the caudate nucleus, a C-shaped nucleus having head, body and tail. And close to the tail end of the caudate nucleus is the amygdaloid body or amygdala. Now here is the lateral wall of the third ventricle, which is formed by diencephalon, that is thalamus above and behind and hypothalamus below and in front. So thalamus, hypothalamus, collectively known as the diencephalon. Then anteriorly you can see the commissural fiber bundles known as the anterior commissure, from which layer of nervous tissue extend downwards known as the lamina terminalis. The body of the fornix continue as the column of the fornix, and rest of the parts are deeply seated. Now here is the mammillary body. Mammillary body can be seen on the basal surface of cerebral hemisphere, one right, one left mammillary bodies. Now at the tail end of the caudate nucleus is the amygdaloid body. Now the fibers just we discussed, stria terminalis, these fibers arise from the amygdaloid body. From the amygdaloid body, a number of nerve fibers, they arise and they travel along the tail and body of the caudate nucleus. These bundle of nerve fibers, which originate from the amygdaloid body, and run along the tail and part of the body of the caudate nucleus known as the stria terminalis. So a bundle of nerve fibers arise from the amygdaloid body, run along the tail and part of the body of the caudate nucleus, then continue to run forwards between the body and head of the caudate nucleus and thalamus, and reaches a region known as the septal region. This region you can see is located below the interventricular foramen and posterior to the interventricular foramen. The septal region is below the interventricular foramen and posterior to the anterior commissure. So here these fibers of the stria terminalis, they reach, but on the way toward the septal region, some of the fibers of stria terminalis, they run backwards, retrograde fibers. Between the caudate nucleus and thalamus. Some of the fibers of stria terminalis, instead of going towards the septal region, they arise and run backwards. These are retrograde fibers, and they terminate in the habenular nucleus. Now, you know, in upper part of the posterior surface of the midbrain, there is right and left habenular nuclei interconnected by habenular commissure. Now, for example, this is posterior surface of the midbrain. You know, it is characterized by presence of a pair of superior caliculi, a pair of inferior caliculi. Then there is a cruciform sulcus separating these caliculi, and below the frenulum, and from it the trochlear nerve have surface attachment, right and left trochlear nerve. Now here at the upper end of the vertical part of the cruciate of cruciform sulcus, there is a depression. So here there is habenular nucleus, one on the right side and one on the left side. Habenular nucleus. And these nuclei are interconnected to each other by a bundle of fibers called habenular commissure. Now, these retrograde fibers of stria terminalis, they enter the midbrain and terminate in the habenular nucleus. These fibers are known as the stria medullaris thalami. Stria medullaris thalami or stria hibernalis. These retrograde fibers have special name known as the stria medullaris thalami or stria hibernalis. So again I will repeat that some nerve fibers arise from the amygdala, run along the tail and then body of the caudate nucleus. These fibers are known as the stria terminalis, and they continue to run forwards between the caudate nucleus and thalamus and reach the septal region, where they divide into 3 bundles. Now some of the fibers on the way towards the septal region, some of the fibers of stria terminalis, they leave the stria terminalis and run backwards and downwards to reach the midbrain, where they make connection with the hibernoid nuclei. These fibers are known as the stria medullaris thalami or stria hibernalis. Now remaining fibers of the stria terminalis, they continue and reaches the septal region. Now suppose this is septal region. And these are the fibers of stria terminalis. Stria terminalis. As they reach the septal region, which is, I told you, below the intervertebral foramen of Monro and behind the anterior commissure, these divide into 3 sets of fibers. Now, some of the fibers, they run above the anterior commissure and known as the supracommissural fibers. Then other fibers run forward to enter the anterior commissure, that is known as the anterior commissural fibers, and the other bundle of fibers, they passes below the anterior commissure and enter the anterior part of the hypothalamus, known as the infracommissural fibers. So in the septal region, the fibers of stria terminalis, they divide into these 3 groups. Number 1, supracommissural fibers, passes forwards above the level of anterior commissure. This is anterior commissure. The other fibers pass forwards towards the anterior commissure, known as the anterior commissural fibers, and rest of the fibers run downwards towards the anterior part of the hypothalamus, known as the infracommissural fibers. So where these fibers terminate, the supracommissural fibers, they terminate the septal nuclei. In the septum pellucidum, as I told you, there are sparsely located nuclei known as the septal nuclei. So the supracommissural fibers of stria terminalis, they terminate in the septal nuclei. Then anterior commissural fibers, these fibers enter the anterior commissure. Anterior commissure. Now the anterior commissure, I told you, interconnect the right and left rhinencephalon. The fibers of the anterior commissure connect the right and left rhinencephalon and also insula. This is an anterior commissure, bundle of commissural fibers. So the anterior commissural fibers from the septal region enter the anterior commissure, and the anterior commissural fibers interconnect the right and left rhinencephalon, smell brain. Then the inferior infracommissural fibers, which run forwards below the anterior commissure, and these fibers then terminate in the anterior hypothalamus. This is further detail of this region, the septal region, where the stria terminalis fibers reach and then divide into supracommissural, anterior commissural, and infracommissural fibers. Now in this diagram you can see these fibers, stria terminalis, dividing into supracommissural, anterior commissural, and infracommissural fibers, then retrograde fibers which connect with the habineural nuclei, and these fibers are known as the stria medullaris thalami or stria habinularis. Then as I told you, the different links from, this is body of the fornix, which continue as crus of the fornix, and I told you the crura of the fornix, they are connected with the mammillary body, on each side. So these broken green line connecting the fibers of the column of the fornix terminate in the mammillary body. So this is one of the link which already we described. And second link, I told you the mammillary body is connected with the thalamus via mammothalamic tract. Another link, mammothalamic tract. Mammothalamic tract. The fibers arising from the mammillary body relay in the thalamus and make connection mainly with the anterior nucleus and dorsomedial nucleus in the form of a bundle of nerve fibers, a tract known as mammothalamic tract, and from the thalamus it is again re-linked with the limbic system. Then the mammillary body is also connected as I told you, with the nuclei of the thalamus, that is anterior and dorsomedial nuclei of the thalamus. So this pathway from mammillary body to the thalamus, and from thalamus via mammillothalamic tract. This is mammillothalamic, the blue shaded line, and mammillothalamic tract after relay from the thalamus again relink with the limbic system. And at the same time, this green shaded line, as I told you, fibers of the crus cerebri they make connection with the mammillary body. And the amygdaloid body, apart from giving fibers in the form of stria terminalis, also is connected with the hypothalamus. Connection between amygdala and hypothalamus. The black shaded line indicate. So this whole describe the important circuit known as the Pepys circuit. And further detail of stria terminalis is shown here. This was about the Pepys circuit. Now next is amygdaloid complex. What are the different components of this complex? Number one, amygdala or amygdaloid body. Amygdala. Then there is the caudate nucleus. And thalamus. These are different components of this complex. Now, the location of these parts the amygdala, it is located close to the tail of caudate nucleus. Caudate nucleus having head, body and tail. So close to the tail of the caudate nucleus is the amygdala. Now if you cut a section of the amygdala, it comprises of nuclei. Suppose this is an element shaped amygdala and this is a cut section. So it comprises of 3 nuclei: lateral nucleus, medial nucleus. And there is an intermediate or central nucleus. This is the internal structure of the amygdala located at the tail of caudate nucleus. And further, you know, the stria terminalis fibers originate. Then caudate nucleus, it is a C-shaped nucleus comprising of head, body, and tail. It is located in different parts of the lateral ventricle. Now suppose this is brain substance, and inside this irregular cavity, this irregular cavity is the lateral ventricle. So this is anterior horn of the lateral ventricle. This is posterior horn of lateral ventricle, and this is inferior horn of lateral ventricle. So here you can easily see that the head and body of the caudate nucleus lies in the floor of the anterior horn of the lateral ventricle, while the tail is located in the roof of the inferior horn of the lateral ventricle. So this is how the caudate nucleus is located, and in relation with the anterior and inferior horns of the lateral ventricle. And this was about the caudate nucleus. Next, thalamus. You know, it is here forming the lateral wall of the third ventricle. Postero-superiorly is the thalamus, infrolaterally is the hypothalamus. So it is part of the diencephalon. But because of reciprocal connections, it is important portion. Thalamus is an important part of the limbic system. Now the amygdala complex, these are the different components. What are its connections of the amygdala? These are efferent and afferent. The efferent connection are stria terminalis, efferent fibers which arise from it. Stria terminalis, efferent connection, and afferent connection, they are connected to olfactory region, to olfactory area, because in human being there is inexorable role of the rhinocephalon with emotions, but it is important in the case of animals. So these were connections. Now what are the functions of amygdaloid complex? Functions of amygdaloid complex. For it, you use a formula using the word serf. The agricultural laborer is known as serf. So S is control of sexual behavior. Control of sexual behavior. Serf. Then second important function is the excitability. E. Control of excitability. control of excitability. Next is RASH. Control of RASH. And the next is the control of fear. Fear or anxiety. So this abbreviation SURF, which is the other name for agricultural labor, will help you to remember the functions of the amygdala. That is, sexual behavior is control, excitability, rage, and fear is control. This was a brief about the functions. And the applied aspect of amygdala when it is damaged. When it is damaged, which just as we discussed is a syndrome. There's Kluver-Bucy syndrome. So atrophy of the amygdala usually occur after the age of 40. Of amygdala usually occur after the age of 60 years. It is atrophied and has same sinus system already we discussed. That is the hyperphagia, hypersexuality, loss of fear, and personality disorders. So these are the results of atrophy of the amygdala which will occur in old age. So thank you very much.